In the last class, what we have discussed, so we have discussed control statements. Okay, so have told you about the syntax of if loop, if conditional statement, if else conditional statement, and switch conditional statement. So already informed, I told that if is a one way, if else is a two way, and switch is a multi-way instruction, right? And we started talking about looping statements, and we have discussed about while loop. So have you gone through the PPT? I hope you have gone through, and do you have any doubts? So as I told, these are the very fundamental instructions statements, so everyone should know this. Any doubts regarding this?
Okay.
Okay, so I will just repeat once again. Okay, if statement. So what is the if statement? So the expression will be evaluated, and based on the expression result, that is either true or false, so set of instructions will be executed. So that's why it is called as one way selection. In case of if else statement, it is called as two way selection, because so based on the result of the evaluation, either one set of the instructions is executed, or else part of the instructions will be executed. If it is true, if the expression results in true, then whatever the instructions are there in the if block, they will be executed. If it is false, then instructions which are there in the else part will be executed. And switch, so as discussed, so switch is a multi-way instructions. So based on the expression value, certain instructions which are there in the case, those instructions only will be executed. Okay, so that is about the switch. And talked about looping statements. So if we want to repeat the execution of certain instructions, then we need to use looping statements. And in that, we have three looping instructions. So one is for, while, and do while. So all these looping instructions should have perform three tasks. So one is initialization. So in order to begin the loop, so what are the variables I'm initializing? So that we call it as an initialization. Conditional checking. So before entering or after entering the loop, so whether I need to execute this instruction or not. So that needs to be checked for every iteration. So that we call it as a conditional checking. So, and third one is incrementation or decrementation. So based on this incrementation and decrementation, so this condition checking will change. So if we don't write this loop update, then the conditional, always the condition becomes true and the loop will runs infinitely. So that's why we should increment or decrement the this looping, whatever the variables that we are using for the condition, so that we need to update for every iteration. Okay, so these three tasks should all the looping instructions should follow these three tasks. So I have discussed about the while loop last class. So it is used to repeatedly executing a set of instructions until a specified condition becomes true. Okay, so until the specified condition, that is the expression result true, the whatever the statements which are there in the within the while loop, they will be executing. So what is the flow of while loop? So first it will check for the expression. So this is where the difference comes when I talk about while loop and do while. Okay, what is the difference? So in while loop, I'm going to check the condition first. Based on the condition, I'm going to execute the instructions. So if the expression results in true, then I will execute the statements. Otherwise, I will exit from the loop. Okay, in the while loop, please remember the while loop, first the condition is checked. When we talk about do while, you will see that first we will execute the instruction, then we will check for the condition. So that is the difference between while and do while. Okay, when I talk about do while, you will understand. So this expression is checked. Based on that, it will execute the instruction. So I have traced this following program. Okay, so what is this program? So this program is the sum of digits which I enter. Okay, if I enter a number, so what are the digits we have? So we'll do the sum of these digits. So that was the program I have talked about yesterday's class. So what is when the condition becomes false? When the condition becomes true when temp is not equal to 0. So this is the condition we are checking to enter the while loop. So until this condition becomes true, these statements will be executed. So once the condition becomes false, that is once a zero, when the temp value becomes 0, so that time this condition results in false because it is not equal to 0. It is equal to 0. So that's the reason this becomes false. So that time it will come out of the loop. So that is the flow of this particular example. So next we'll talk about the next looping instruction. It is called as do while. Okay, so it is almost similar to the while, but only the difference between the only difference between, one second. I think this flowchart is wrong. I will update that. This flowchart is wrong. Okay. Yeah. The only yeah, I think I have copied. Okay. This syntax is also these two are wrong. Okay. It is not. This I think I copied the same image of while. So that's the reason I think these two are again they are repeated. Okay, I will update that later. Okay, you understand here it is an example. Okay, so you understand through the example. So this is the syntax of do while. So what is the do while? It is also used for repetitively executing a set of instructions until the specified condition is true. So this is this statement is same as while loop, but there is a difference between while loop and do while. So what is that? In a do while loop, the statement is executed first. Okay, the statements are executed first, and then condition statement is conditional statement is evaluated. Whereas in case of while loop, first we are going to evaluate the expression, then we are going to execute the statements. But in case of do while, first we are executing the statements and then we are checking for the expression. That is the difference. So in certain program, it is like first we need to execute the instruction and check for the condition. So for such programs, we can use this particular do while. Okay, so this is the syntax. So you'll start with the do followed by curly braces, and you can write instructions here. So at the end of the curly braces, we need to write while followed by the expression semicolon. So this is the syntax of do while. So once these statements are executed, you will check whether this expression is true or false. If it is true, again you will execute these instructions. If it is false, then you will come out of the do while loop. This is how the do while works. So you think you can compare that in a while loop. So if this is false, you will not execute even one time also. Okay, there depend on the type of the result of the condition, you may or may not execute these instructions. But when I talk about do while, so you will execute these instructions at least once. Okay, that is the main difference. So in do while, you will be executing this instruction at least once, because you will first execute the statements and then check for the condition. Whereas here you are checking for the condition and based on that you are executing. So that's why in case of do while, so at least once you will be executing the instructions. Fine. Any doubt here? If you have any doubt, you can ask. You understood? Kiran, Kiran V, have you understood?
Yeah, yes, sir, understood.
Okay. Okay, next we'll talk about the another important looping instruction, for loop. Okay, so what is this for loops? So it executes a sequence of statements multiple times and abbreviates the code that manages the loop variable. So it is also similar to the while loop and do while loop. That is, it will execute the set of instructions multiple number of times. But the only difference is that, so in the while loop, we are going to provide the looping variables like this. Okay, so this is the syntax you can see here. So we are defining the looping statements within the for, looping variables within the for. So this is the expression 1 followed by semicolon, expression 2 followed by semicolon, and expression 3 and closing the bracket. So this is the syntax of for loop. So within the for loop, we will write some statements that has to be executed. So what is this expression 1, 2, and 3? So the expression 1 corresponds to the initialization statement. So it initializes the looping variable. Okay, it initializes the looping variable. You can see in this example. So I'm going to print integers from 1 to 10. Okay, so I need to print integers from 1 to 10. So what is the initialization of this particular problem? So initialization is, first I need to begin with 1. So that's why I'm initializing I equal to 1. So this expression 1 is the initializes the looping variable. So here looping variable is I. So I'm initializing that to 1 because I need to start from I 1 to 10. So that's the reason it is I equal to 1. And what is the second expression? So second expression is the conditional expression that states the looping condition. So it is the condition checking. So if this condition becomes true, then only I will enter the for loop. Otherwise, I will exit from the for loop. So what is the condition in this particular example? So I need to print values from 1 to 10. So once it reaches 10, I need to exit from the loop. So that's why my condition will be, I'm checking whether I is within 10, less than or equal to 10 or not. So if I is less than or equal to 10, I need to execute. Otherwise, I need to come out of the loop. So that's why the second expression is condition. So based on this condition only, the looping statements are executed or not executed. And expression 3. So what is this expression 3? So expression 3 is the modifier expression that modifies the looping variable. So as I told, we need to perform 3 tasks. One is initialization, loop condition, and loop updating. So loop initialization is expression 1, loop condition is expression 2, and loop 3 is the expression 3 is the loop updating, that is increment or decrement. So I need to change the looping variable for each iteration. So this is the third expression. So I'm updating the variable in the expression. So this is how we need to use for loop. So these are the 4 looping statements in C. So you can see here this is the flow chart. So this flow chart is like, first we will do initialization. Okay, this corresponds to initialization, and next condition. So if the condition is true, I'm going to execute this set of instructions. If the condition is false, I'm going to exit from the loop. So if the after executing the instructions from the in instruction statements, so I need to check, I need to update the looping variable and go and check again the condition. Again, if the condition is true, I will execute. Otherwise, I will come out. So this is the flowchart of the for loop. I think we have seen this in flowchart diagram. One of the example, the flowchart diagram, we'll see. Yeah. So you can see here, I think this is while loop. Oh. Okay, you can see here. First, I'm initializing the variable I equal to 10. Okay, then I'm executing the instruction. This is with respect to do while, because I'm checking the condition at the last. So first I'm initializing, I'm executing, and then I'm checking the condition. Again, if it is true, I will go back and I will execute once again. I think for loop it is not there in this flowchart. Okay, I hope everyone understood this control statements. So we have discussed if else, switch, and then I have explained about three looping statements: while, do while, and for loop. So these are very important, so everyone should understand. Okay, so next we'll come to a topic called as arrays. So what is an array? So it is it is the derived data types. So this array is defined using the primary data types. Can anyone tell what are the primary data types?
Float, char, double.
Yes, double and void.
What?
Right? Yeah. So these are the primary data types. So using the primary data types, we can define an array. So the formal definition of array is a linear data structure, okay, that groups elements of similar types and stores them at a contiguous memory location. So first you need to understand what do you mean by linear data structure. So linear data structure, it means that we are going to store these elements of the array in a contiguous memory allocation. Contiguous memory allocation means one after the another. So you can see in this diagram. So this is the array representation. So say this is memory address 1024 is a address of this memory location. Okay. So how we can access this address location? By, I think I have discussed about the operators. In the operators, I have told you that we can access the memory address by using some operator. What is that? What is that? You can check the operators. I hope you have opened PPTs in your laptops and you are checking. Okay, check which operator we can use to access this memory allocation, memory address.
Pointers.
Yeah, in the pointers, which operators? Which operator? There are two operators I have discussed, right? Which operator is used? I have told in the last class. Last to last class. Okay. See, if I write ampersand of array of 0. Okay. So if I print what is the value of this? So how to print a value? What is the syntax? Print. Yeah. Okay. This is the syntax. It's visible. I'll increase font size. I hope it's visible now. Okay. So in order to print something on the output device, so we need to use printf. Okay. So printf, this is the syntax. So if you want to print integer value, we should use format specifier as.
Sir, the screen is not visible.
One second. Okay, now I hope it's visible. Okay, so this printf is used for printing something on the screen. Okay, so printf, so what is this is the syntax. So first you need to write within the double quotes. So whatever you are writing within the double quotes, it will be printed. So for printing the integer values, you need to use format specifier %d. So for floating point, you need to use %f. Okay, and for character, you need to use %c. So here I am going to print the memory address of memory address. So that's why I'm using %d. So %d memory address. Okay, and this comma followed by the what value I need to display. So I want to display this value. So I'm using, you can see here, I'm using percentage of ampersand of array of 0. So what it will print? So it will print me the address, memory address of this particular array position. So this is the ampersand is used to display the address of this memory location. So array of 0 is present in which memory address. Okay, so what it will display? It will display 1024. So for that particular example, for this particular example, 1024 will be printed. Any doubt? And if I write instead of ampersand, if I write star here, then what will be printed? So star is used for printing the value which is there in this particular memory address. So star of, if I say array of 0, then 10 will be printed. I hope you understood. Okay, this is also a fundamental, so you should understand. Okay, we are talking about array. So as I told you, array is a linear data structure which groups similar elements, similar types. So what are the different types of data types? We have seen characters, okay, character, float, right, integer. So these are the data types. So array is used to group the elements of similar types. It means that if I have declared an array of integer type, then all the elements in an array should be integer. I cannot store here 10 and I cannot store a character here or a floating point number here. No. If I declare an array as a integer data type, okay, integer array, then all the elements in an array should be integer. Otherwise, it will throw an error. Fine. So that's why we call it as a group of elements of similar types. So this is one characteristic of an array. Okay. And another characteristic of array is it stores them at a contiguous memory location. So you can see that. So this is the address. Okay, 1024 is the address. So next element of the array will be stored in the next contiguous memory allocation. Can you tell why it is 1024 and followed by 1026? Why not 1025? So what is the size of an integer?
2 bits.
Yeah, 2 bytes. Okay, not bit, it is 2 bytes. So 1024 is a memory address. So this size of this particular, this is the integer value, integer variable, integer data type. So it consumes 2 bytes of memory. So if we, so once this consumes 2 bytes of memory, so the next address will be 1026. So add 2 bytes to this 1024, so we will get 1026. So that's why you can see here 1024, 26, 28, 30, and 32. So all these memory locations are contiguous. We cannot put this 20 in 1050. No, because it will become discontinuous. So we when I say array, so all the memory locations are contiguous. So this is the another characteristic of an array. Okay, so please remember this. This is very important. So array is a linear data structure that group elements of similar types and stores them at a contiguous memory location. And each element in an array is assigned an index number called as array subscript. So you can see here, what do you mean by this? So in order to access this particular array, we can use an array index. So for each memory location, there is a separate index value. So using which you can access the that particular value which is there in that particular array. So you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all, we call it as a subscript, or you can call it as an index. So what is the starting index number? Index number is always 0. So array starts with an index number 0 and ends with the size -1. So if I declare an array of 5 elements, then the last index value will be array size -1. So if I say array size is 5, then last index value will be size -1. That is 4 in this particular example. Fine. So if I say you declare an array of size 20, okay, then what will be the index? What is the range of index? 0 to 90. Okay, size -1. So each element in an array is stored in some memory location, and each memory location will be having an index. Okay, so this 10 is the first element in an array and its index is 0. Next is 5, index is 1, so on. So if I need to access a particular index, say suppose if I want to access the third position of an array, third element of an array, then how can I access? So I want to print the third element of an array. So how can I print? So I will print f. Okay, printf %d, because it is an integer data. So %d third position. If I want to print the third position, so what will be my index? What will be my index number? Array of 2, because the array index will start from 0. So if I give index 2, I will get the third position of the array. So you can see here. So if I give array index 2, then I will get first position, second position, third position. So third position of array will be accessed. So this is how you need to access an array. So array, we can declare array with different dimensionals. So we call it as a single dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. So when I say it is a single dimensional array, so it represents elements of array in a single column. So this is one column. Okay, so we call it as a single dimensional array. So we can also declare an array with a multi-dimensional array, so where we will having separate multiple columns. So I will show you an example. So here this is the syntax like how you can declare an array, single dimensional array. So what is the syntax? So syntax is, you need to specify what is the data type. So as I told you, we have primary data. Using the primary data type, you can declare an array. So we have integer data type, floating data type, characters. Okay, array of characters. So if we define array of characters, we call it as a string. Okay, so these data types you can declare as an array. So here we will specify data type followed by the array name and followed by the size in the within the brackets. So here is an example, int a of 10. So we have memory locations, 10 memory locations of type means integer. And what is the name of the array? The name is a. So suppose if I ask you to declare an array of 20, so how you need to declare? Of type floating point, then you need to declare float or give array name a followed by within the bracket 20. So this is how we need to declare an array. And next is initialization. So if you are declared array and you need to store some initial values within this memory location, so how you can define? So initial values within the array. So if you don't store any initial values, some already whatever the garbage value, we call it as a garbage value, which is already there in the memory, that will be stored. So if you want to initialize an array, you can initialize like this. So data type, so say for this is an example, int and array name, so you take it as the array a of 3 and equal to followed by the elements. So in this example you can see that int a of 3, so array of type integer, array name is a and number of elements in the array is 3. So I am initializing the values. So in the array position 0 I am putting it as 2, in the 1 I'm putting is 4, and at the third position I'm putting 8. So this is how you need to initialize an array. So what is the a of 0? When you say a of 0, you will get 2. So because you are initialized the 0 with array of 0 is 2. Now how to identify array size? So you can identify the size of an array by using this formula. So that is length of an array into size of data type. So you can see here. So what is the size of integer? So because I have declared this particular array as integer, so integer size is 2 bytes. Okay. So how many elements I have declared here? I have declared as 10. So what will be my array size? My array size will be length of an array, so which is nothing but 10 here. 10 into what is the size of integer data type? It is 2. So 10 into 2 is 20. So that is the array size. So this is how we need to calculate the size of an array. So here is an example. So I have defined integer array, so a of 4, and I have initialized the values 10, 20, 30 and 40. So what is the size of my array? My array size will be the size of an array, which is 4 here. So 4 into size of integer, that is 2. So 4 to the 8. So 8 bytes of memory. So this is how you can calculate the array size. So now we will see how to access an array elements. Okay, how to access or how to do some programming using an array. So here is an example. I hope it's visible now. So I have shared the PPT. You can open this PPT. Page number is slide number is 66. So this is how you need to access an array. I think this is an example for 2-dimensional array. Yeah, this is single dimensional array. So zoom it. Yeah. So how you'll start a program? You'll start by hash include stdio.h, conio.h. Okay, and this is how you will declare an array. So here the name of the array is a and size is 10. Okay, and So what I'm doing, I'm entering the data in an array. So what is the which function we need to use for taking a character from the keyboard? In order to read a data from the keyboard, we should use scanf. Okay, so how I'm going to read an array? So this is how we can read into an array. We can put data into an array by using scanf. So that should be within the for loop. Okay, just now I discussed about the syntax of for loop. So the my array size is 10. So always the array index will start from the 0, and so the maximum size is array size minus 1. So that's the reason. So I is initialized to 0, followed by semicolon, followed by condition. So what is this condition? So I need to I need to read the array elements up to 10, because the array size is only 10. I cannot go beyond that. So that's the reason the condition I'm checking is whether I is less than or equal to 9, right? So because 0 to 9 is 10 elements, so that's why I is less than or equal to 9. And after the condition, the expression 3 is to update the looping variable. So I'm incrementing the I value. So initially I will be 0. For the next iteration, I will be 1, 2, 3, so on up to 9. Once it reaches 10, this condition becomes 4. I will come out of the loop. So this is the syntax for reading the 0th element array elements. So initially the I will be 0. So I'm reading the first position. Then when I becomes 2, I'm reading the second position. When I becomes 3, I'm reading the third position. So on until I read up to 9th position, 10th position, A of 9. So once I read the array elements, I will come out of the loop. So in order to I say in this example, what I'm doing, I'm calculating the sum of array elements. So how I'm doing the sum of array elements? So again, I'm using the for loop, because I need to move from 0th position to 10th position. So that's why. So for I equal to 0, I less than or equal to 9, I plus plus. So what I'm doing, I'm adding sum equal to sum plus A of I. So initially I have declared sum as 0. Okay, so you can see here sum as a 0. So I will get in the first iteration I will be 0. So I'm taking the position at the 0th element and I'm adding to sum. Then I value will be incremented. So I will go for the next position. So same way. So I'm going to calculate the sum. So after calculating the sum of array elements, I am calculating the average. So I'm displaying that average here. So this is how you can read an array elements or write into an array in this using C programming. I hope you understood. Any doubts here? Any doubts?
No.
Okay. So this is about the one-dimensional array. So another type of array is two-dimensional array, where the elements of array in here we have only one column. So you will be having in the multi-dimensional array. So based on the how many dimensional you will specify, whether it's a two-dimensional or three-dimensional, 4, 5, like that. So depending upon the how many dimensional you will specify, that many number of columns will be there. So columns and rows will be there. We will see that using example. Yeah, so you can see this is how you can declare an array with multi-dimensional. Yeah, so this is an syntax for two-dimensional. Okay, so again you will specify the data type. So data type followed by array name. This is an array name similar to that of single dimensional, followed by, so there you will specify only one dimensional size, that is square bracket and some size. But in case of two dimensional, you will specify two brackets. So this is the first, whatever the value will give, it will specify the row subscript, and the second value will give as column subscript. So you can see here. So this is an example. So integer a of 2 followed by 2. So this 2 corresponds to the number of rows, and this 2 corresponds to the number of columns. So it is nothing but it is a two-dimensional array. So if you want to define three-dimensional array, what you need to do? You need to specify another square bracket and you need to specify another value here. Okay. So say for example square bracket of 3. So I have three-dimensional array. So like that. So depending upon the type, how many dimensional dimensions you want, you can specify using the square bracket. So how to initialize this two-dimensional array? So this is the syntax. So you need to specify the array name. Okay, array name followed by the index number. Say here is an example. So array name is A, and I need to initialize the first row and 0th column, first row and 0th column. So I need to initialize it as 3. So you can see here the 0th row and 0th column. So we have value 10. So like that, you can access a particular memory location in a two-dimensional array. Okay. So in the single dimensional array, we can have only one subscript. Okay. In the single dimensional, we have only one subscript, that is a of 0. But when I talking about two-dimensional array, I will be having two subscripts. Okay, you can see this in example. So this is 0 of 0, that is row is 0 and column is 0. If it is third dimensional array, then I will be having another square bracket, so on. Okay, if we so based on the number of dimensions, you will be having that many square. So this is how you need to access the two-dimensional array. So here is an example. So I need to initialize the row 2 and second column with these elements. Then I need to use this particular syntax in a of 2 followed by 2. So what it means, this is the second row. Okay, third row, because the array index will start from the 0, right? So 0 1 2. So this is the third row and third column. So what is the values I'm having? I'm having 1 2 3 4. So here is an example. So this is for 2 by 2 matrix. So if I want to read a 2 by 2 matrix, so I should use two for loops. So one is for row and another one is for column. Whereas if I'm using a single dimension, I'm using only one for loop. But if I'm using two dimensional, so I'm using two for loops. Okay. So the first, whatever the variable is there, it will correspond to the first row. Okay, and the next variable, it corresponds to the column. Okay, so if we write %d ampersand of m of I followed by j, then it will go to the ith row and jth column. So in order to print, no need to use this ampersand, just write m of I followed by m of j. So this is how you need to access, you can access the two-dimensional array. So similarly, three-dimensional, four-dimensional, and so on. So this is about arrays. If you have any doubts, you can discuss. Okay. I hope no doubts. Okay. So you refer some more examples online. So you will understand more about the arrays. So if you have any doubts, you can discuss in the next class also. Okay. So after arrays, we have strings. Strings, I think, strings and built-in function, user-defined functions, and structures, unions. I will explain these concepts in the next class. Okay. I'll take the attendance. So before coming to the next class, so prepare all the control statements and arrays. So next, whatever the concepts I'm going to explain is string, structures, union. Okay. So all these depends on these fundamentals. That is for loop, while loop, do while, conditional statements, arrays. Okay. So you please understand thoroughly, go through the PPT, go through online material, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Okay. Answer your attendance. Aishwarya. Double E 004. Option. Pushpa.
Present. Present, sir. 004 present, sir.
Ullas.
Present, sir. Ullas present.
Ranjit. Ranjit is absent. Sushmita.
Sir, Ranjit present.
You are audible. You are not audible. Okay. Sushmita. Absent. Aishwarya. Triple E 003. Aishwarya. Absent. Screen is visible, no? Who are present, who are absent. So this is the column.
Present, sir.
Who is this?
Sir, present.
Roll number. Aishwarya, right?
Sir, present.
Okay. Next, Akshay Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ashwini.
Present, sir.
Rakesh.
Present, sir.
Okay, Rakesh, you are absent for the last 3 classes.
Sir, I was present at starting, sir. I was not able to answer the attendance.
See, that is left to you. You need to answer every day. Next,
Okay, okay.
Nagavarshini. Absent. 038. Sai Kiran. Absent. Veerabhadra Gowda Civil. Absent. So Priyanka.
Yes, sir.
Chandramouli.
Present, sir.
Bhargav Verma.
Yes, sir.
Kiran.
Present, sir.
Sneha.
Present, sir.
Rahul.
Present, sir.
Umar.
Present, sir.
Dheeraj.
Present, sir.
Akash.
Present, sir.
Bharat.
Present, sir.
Prajwal.
Yes, sir.
Prajwal is absent. Okay. Sujit.
Sir, present, sir. Sujit, yes, sir.
Sujit is present.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sai Reddy.
Yes, sir.
Danya.
Present, sir.
Aishwarya V.
Yes, sir.
Shananavar. Pooja Shananavar.
Present, sir.
Srinidhi.
Present, sir.
Kusuma.
Present, sir.
Kiran V.
Present, sir.
Rahul. So absent. Bharatesh absent. Josh. Josh. Civil 019.
Sir.
1 second. 138. EC 138.
Present, sir.
Yeah. Come on,
Sir,
something.
Sushmita P.
One second.
Starting.
Serial number.
So 56. Triple E 56.
No, this if you tell this serial number, no, it is easy. Sushmita Priya.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other number? So absent is for today's class. Nagavarshini, Sai Kiran, Veerabhadra Gowda, and these two Rahul and Natish and Josh. So these are the students absent for today's class. So I will repeat once again. So go through this conditional statements, looping statements, arrays. Okay. So we'll discuss strings and built-in. What are the built-in functions? What are the user-defined functions? Structures and union. These things in the upcoming classes. Okay. Okay. Thank you.